Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Try This at Home. I'm going to be your host for today, Renee from Origins, and today what I'm going to take you through is a typical class that we would do at Origins Parkour, except for I'm going to be doing it from my living room / kitchen. We're going to get creative. We're going to be using some things that you should be able to find around your house, and we're going to make it happen. All right, let's get our warm-up started. So we'll do some running on the spot first. Get our heart rate up. If you like to skip, you can skip. If you like to shadow box, do what you got to do. Get some light jump in. A little side to side. Forward and back. Okay, back to running on the spot. And we'll try to get those knees up. Maybe some jumping jacks. Okay, all right, hopefully you should be breathing a little bit by now. So we're going to get into some joint rotations. We'll start with arm circles. And the other way. Okay, circle your head side to side. Hip circles. And other direction. Okay, reach up nice and tall. And reach down, try to touch your toes. Reach up one more time, this time big breath in. And breathe out, reach down. Okay, we're going to walk our hands forward and put our knees down. Alright, from here you can turn your hands backwards. We'll just sit back and stretch our wrists. Okay, next we're going to do Steve's favorite, shout out Steve. We're going to turn our hands upside down. Sit back this way. Your fingers are still pointed at you, hands are upside down. Okay, you can sit back, roll your wrists. Okay, let's take one step forward, go into a lunge. Just try to drive your hips forward from here. Do the other side. Okay, bring that back down. Now, normally at this point in our class, we would do some line drills. So, going and practicing different movements across the floor. Because we don't have a lot of space here, we're going to change it up a bit. So instead, what we're going to do are fire hydrants. So what I'll do is I'll lift up one knee, and I'll start trying to make a big, slow circle with that knee. Now, what I'm focusing on here is I'm trying to imagine like I'm balancing something on my lower back here. So I don't want to tilt my hips up to the side. I just want to try to keep them nice and level. Really try to isolate that circle. All right, other direction. Okay, and we'll change sides. And other direction over here. Okay, we're going to switch over into crab mode. Once you're in crab mode here, try to lift your hips up as high as you can. And we're going to try to see if we can walk our feet forward, keeping our hips up nice and high, and walk them back. We'll repeat that 5 times. Okay, so next we're going to get into today's drills. Now, some of the drills we have planned, we're not going to have equipment for, and I'm going to start with one of those right away. One of the drills that we do not have the equipment for are lache drills. So, what we're going to try to do instead of laches is we're going to work on some of the parts of our body that make us a little bit better at performing laches. And one of those is actually your grip strength. So, here's where we start getting creative. I have here 2 cans of beets. Now I know a lot of you may have been to the grocery store, maybe picking up some non-perishables. So find what you got. The heavier the better. If you are a more advanced athlete and you already have really good grip strength, this is probably not going to cut it for you, but what we are going to do is work a little bit on our finger dexterity. So what I'm going to do here is bring these back over to the soft floor so I don't break them. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to pick them up, and then I'm going to try to pinch and pick up using one finger at a time. So here I'm going thumb and index finger, thumb and middle finger, thumb and ring finger, and finally thumb and pinky. That one's probably the hardest of all. And what I actually want to do here is I'm going to try to switch quickly between each of those. So I'll go index, middle, ring, pinky, ring, middle, index, and so on. And what you're going to find, so again, the trick here is quick grab and snatch, picking up. So I'm working, again, a little bit on my finger dexterity, which also contributes to your grip strength. But at the same time, what you'll feel is we're going to try to keep this up for about a minute. I don't have a stopwatch going or anything right now, but you're welcome to use that. And what you're going to find is after about a minute, you are going to get a little bit of a pump in your forearms, which is what we're looking for. Again, if you have something heavier that you can grab and pinch, by all means, go ahead and use that. So we're just trying to get that forearm pump combined with a little bit of finger dexterity work. Starting to feel a little bit now. We're going to do a few more. Find the quicker, the better, and the more interesting this one is too. So again, remember you don't want to drop these, so make sure you're doing them on something soft. I got a little bit of carpet here. Woo! Starting to burn a little bit. Okay, cool. So that is drill number 1. Now, typically in our classes, what we'll do is we'll take one skill drill. For our kids classes, we'll typically spend about 2 to 3 minutes on it. For our adult classes, that's more like 3 or 4. So you can spend a little bit more time on that one. I'm not going to bother going through all the reps for this video. But after that, so usually after we hit that one set of drills, we'll move on to the next one, and then we'll come back around again. So I do have one more drill that we'll be doing for laches, but what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to precision jumps. Now, this one is actually probably the most straightforward out of some of the things we're going to be doing in class today, because if you have space, you can simply jump forward. Now, if you have things you can jump to, that's great. If you have a step or something like that, or something hard, what I have over here actually is a cutting board. And the great thing about this one is actually it has some rubber on it, so I'm not worried about it sliding too much. And I'm just going to use this as an edge. Now, what's going to happen here is my heels are probably going to tap the ground a little bit, and that's fine, but I'm still trying to aim for ball of foot on the edge here. For this part of class, we do not need to be doing any sort of maximal effort jumps. This is just, we're still kind of warming up and we're just working on our technique. So we're gonna try to stick our landings, try to have nice, good position on them. Okay, so we're gonna put this down over here. Hopefully you can still see that. Okay, and we're just gonna do a little jump. Trying to see if I can stick my landing there. And we'll repeat that. All right, my carpet moved a little bit that time, so I think what we're going to try to do is I'll maybe move back over here, see if I can prevent that from happening. Should have tested this one out before I started the video. Okay, that was a little better. Kind of adjusted there, I was afraid it was going to move again. There we go. All right, some of you at home might have precision trainers, and that's definitely better than this, but if you don't, again, I can still work on my precision technique with limited equipment. All right, so 1 cue we're going to try to give ourselves today. We always try to work on 1 cue at a time each class. Is I'm really just trying to aim my chest over top of my toes. So I'm aiming my chest for the ledge so that when I land, my chest is landing over top of my feet like this. I'm not upright this way. All right, so we're going to hit a couple more. Ooh, a little too much sauce on that one. Actually, a little rusty on my barefoot precisions, if I do say so. I'm going to try to get, there we go, all right. Finish on a good one. Okay, we're going to put that away. We're going to bring this back out again later. Okay, so we're going to go back to our lache drills now. The next one we're going to do is actually going to be more of a stretch. So if you managed to get some good grip work in earlier, awesome. What we're going to try to do now is stretch out our shoulders a little bit. We're going to do my favorite pec stretch. So the way this works is start off on the ground here. And what I'm going to do is the arm that I want to stretch, I'm going to creep it up a little bit so that my elbow is now higher than my shoulder in a horizontal sort of way of speaking here. So I'm going to press that shoulder down. And what I'm trying to do here is actually a pec stretch. So I'm going to take my free arm now and I'm going to use it to push and twist away. This is similar to a doorway stretch. All right, now if you want to look really cool in front of your mom while you're doing this stretch at home, just go ahead and take this back leg and bring it up and over, and then you'll really look like you know what you're doing. All right, we're going to hold this one for a bit here. Recommend holding this one for about a minute or two, depending on your tolerance. But for the sake of the video, we are going to switch over to the side. So again, shoulder pinned down, slide that elbow up, and then I'm trying to push and twist away, hopefully not kicking anything over behind me. All right, so after that, hit your minute or two on each side, and then we're going to move on to the next drill. So once again, we are back to our precision landings. And instead of doing a broad jump, we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to try to do some drops. So I'm just going to use a chair. Now, if what I'm going to recommend for this drill is start off something lower and then kind of work your way up. What I'm actually going to try to do for this drill, because I'm not landing on a precise target, I'm just going to land on the floor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight ahead so that I can't see where I'm landing. And then I'm going to walk off like I'm walking the plank. So this is very, very similar to a depth drop. I'm just going to walk forward like I'm walking the plank here. And then I'm going to react to the landing as it happens. So I'm still trying to go for that good precision landing position. I'm starting here and I'm just going to do a blind. And just like that, I react as soon as I hit the ground. Good thing to remember as you're doing this one is switch legs. It's going to feel a little bit different. So you probably have your preferred takeoff or leg to drop off of. But we're going to switch it up. Okay, we'll go one more. I think I kind of lost count here, but probably go about 8 reps or so. Give yourself a minute break and then hit another 8. And that brings us to the end of our drills. Okay, so after this point in class, usually what happens is we go more into our deep dive of skills. So the deep dive for this week is Kongs and wall runs. Now, wall runs are probably going to be the harder of those two. We're going to save that for last. I have some fun things for Kongs, so I'm kind of excited to get into that one. So we're going to do Kongs first. All right, so here I have even more cutting boards. Got a little serving platter and another cutting board. Okay, so make your stack however how you want to. We could also use, I was thinking, if you have like old hardcover books or anything that you don't really appreciate anymore, maybe you have some pieces of wood, anything basically will do that is about the size. If you have stuff like this that you can stack up to make kind of more incremental increases, that's going to be even better. So I'm just going to start with one. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to place it down on the floor, and I'm going to do a ground Kong. Now, if you're just starting out, you almost don't even need something like this. You could just use the floor. And what you're trying to do is do a ground Kong where your feet match your hands. So as I reach forward, making sure that I actually have to reach into it. If I'm too close to where I'm going to put my hands, this won't work. So I'm going to back up a bit, reach forward, and what I want to try to do is get my hands to land first and then hop my feet up to where my hands are. Now if you can, you're going to try to make that one motion, like so. Okay? Those of you that are more advanced now, what we will try to do is we'll try to clear our target. So my hands are going to go on it, but I'm going to Kong my way over my target. Now this is actually great practice for me because I happen to be terrible at level ground Kongs like this, where I'm taking off and landing on something that is the exact same level. So in the next coming weeks, maybe I'll get some extra practice with this type of movement. Okay, so the next level, for those of you that are a bit more advanced, is we're going to take our stack, and I tested one of these out before I started the video so I don't make a complete fool of myself. But what we're going to try to do is stack these up. And this time I'll be putting my hands on the floor in front of my stack. And I'm going to try to Kong onto it. Okay? So I'm going from back here. All right. Okay, and then what we can do from there is you can actually take that same stack. Mine happens to be slipping a little bit now. See if I can fix that. So we can take that and we can actually move it a little bit further. So I'm still going to try to put my hands in the same place, but I'm going to try to see if I can get my feet to now land further, not only further, but also upward. Oh. Okay, let's try that one more time, see if I can get that a little bit cleaner. It's actually a little bit tricky because if your stack of items happens to move around like mine does, if you don't have something that sits there, if you try to stick it a little bit too rigid, it's going to fall apart. So it makes it easy to want to overshoot. We'll see if I can get a good one here. Almost. Alright, we're going to scrap that one. Okay, the last variation I have here for ground Kongs is we're going to try to clear something. So I just have a shoe, but again, be creative. See what you can come up with. So same sort of technique. I'm going to put my hands down on the floor in front of it, and then I'm going to try to clear it. Oh, scraped a little that time. I told you I was bad at these ones. Try it again. Oh, there we go. Yeah, my carpet's sliding a little bit, but actually, it's a rug. That is why it's sliding. Okay, cool. So, a couple options for you there. We can kind of set ourselves a lower target and move it further away from our hands to kind of practice that distance Kong pre. What we're getting out of this is we're working our dive mechanics at the same time as a hard push to get further with our Kongs. If you're not quite at that level, just practicing your Kong up on the ground is just fine. And then of course for some of you that are more advanced, we can also try to Kong and clear over something. Alright? The next thing we're going to do in our Kong lesson is we're just going to work on our takeoff. So if you haven't done this before, what we try to do for a good Kong takeoff is a split step. So your split step, if we're just starting to learn this, it doesn't need to be a very wide step. The only time I'm ever going to use a super long step like this is if I actually have more speed behind me. So typically if it's a shorter approach cone, we do not need quite a long step on our takeoff. So most of you are going to be comfortable jumping forward like this. What we're trying to do is just adapt a jump where I'm going to jump from here. So what you're going to do to start is just get into a position where if I said, hey, we're going to run a race, get into your racing position. And what you'll notice is you'll automatically put one foot forward. Okay? So now that you've done that, we're going to try to keep that as your Kong foot. So I'm going to have 1 foot forward here, 1 foot back, and I just want to kind of practice jumping from a bit of a crouch here and diving forward. So I'm going to crouch down on my split step, dive forward. Now, this is actually a great drill regardless of skill level. It's just kind of breaking down your technique to see if you can get more power by improving on the technique. So again, some of the things we're looking for here is making sure that we're breaking at the hips and the knees to crouch down, setting our arms and going into a dive. Now, my living situation doesn't quite allow it, but an excellent drill would actually be doing this onto your bed, assuming that your bed can take that. So you could back away from your bed and then see if you can still make a comfortable dive towards it. Now, once we have practiced that as a stationary drill, what we can do is work on using an approach into it. So what we'll do is, starting from one side of the room, I'm going to start with my dominant leg forward. So we said like our Kong foot is going to be forward here. And what I'm going to try to do then is I'm just going to lunge a little bit into another takeoff. Okay? So I'll do that again. Again, if you're limited for space, just do what you can. So I'm starting in my takeoff. I'm going to lunge 2. Okay? So that lunge is me setting up into it, and then getting my hips low, and then I'm going to try to take off with both feet from there. So once again, I'm starting from here, take off, lunge, and jump. Once you've practiced how to do that, what you're going to do next is you can start with your feet together, and we can kind of make it into more of a 1, 2, 3 sort of movement. So I can sort of make it into a step and then 1, 2. So this time I'll go in both directions so you can see. But I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's all it is. Looks like looks like my wife just got home, and I'm right in front of the door right now. She's got a smile on her face, but we're gonna keep rolling. We're almost done here. Okay, so what we've done, just to recap, is we have our Kong drills using whatever sort of little surfaces we can put on the ground to either Kong to or Kong over, and then we have our Kong approach, Kong approach is something that's just great to train even without a wall that you can actually Kong over, because I can just work on my step technique without thinking about the consequences of what happens when I actually do the Kong. Okay? All right. Well, okay. Next, we are going to go into our wall run drills. Now, I am not about to be running up the walls in here and making them all dirty and such. But what we are going to focus in on is that a wall run is typically going to be higher when someone already has a great single leg takeoff. So if I can jump off the ground really hard, that typically means that I'm going to have a really high wall run. Because the hardest part, or the most force that's happening, is actually coming off the ground, not off of what I'm putting into the wall. So instead of interacting with walls, which is again super important for doing a good wall run, because we're confined, we're still going to try to get some work done, and we're still going to make progress just by working on our single leg takeoff. So the first drill you're going to want to try is just jumping off of one foot on the ground. So what you can do is jump up, land on two. Okay? After you're kind of comfortable with that, what we can try to do is we can try to swing our back leg back, get a little bit more dig into this, and then I'm really going to focus on driving my knee up and getting as high as I can. So again, if you don't have a lot of experience doing this, I'm going to recommend just starting a little bit with that first drill and then seeing if you can work on driving up into it more. So we'll hit 5 reps of that one. Okay, and we'll get both sides done. Okay, so again, that is the first drill that we're going to do. The next one is going to take a little bit more strength. So if you already found that one fairly challenging, both for getting any height and also for stabilizing when you land back on one foot, don't bother adding anything. What we'll try to do is wrap up today's class with about 3 to 5 sets of 5 on each leg. Make sure you're giving yourself plenty of rest in between those sets so that we get quality work done, okay? All right, next, what is gonna happen is if you're more advanced, what we can do is we can actually start in a lunge, and I'm gonna do that same motion. So this becomes my takeoff leg now, and I'm gonna jump up off the ground, come back down into my lunge. Okay? All right, so we got our more beginner exercise, just getting used to those single leg jumps, either landing on 2 feet or back down on 1. And then we have our more advanced exercise where we're starting in that lunge, driving up from there. Some other things that I didn't mention, I'm a little out of breath right now, that you could try to do to make those exercises a little bit harder is if you have any sort of wearable weights, you could throw that in, because these are stationary exercises that are basically a portion of the movement we're trying to train. We're not going to develop any sort of bad biomechanics or anything by weighting those. So as long as you can still get a good strong jump, if you have something like a weight vest, feel free to use that as you're doing these plyometric exercises. And that is it for today's lesson. So please like and subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more. We appreciate it if you share this with some friends that you think might need it. Also, leave a comment, let me know how I did. I tend to ramble on a little bit more when I don't have a big group full of students to give individual cues to and things like that. So I know I did a little bit of that today. I'll try to keep things a little bit more concise for next time, but we're doing what we can, all right? So make sure you stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.